welcome y'all to Backwoods Obscura, a podcast dedicated to the lore, legends, and myths surrounding the creatures that may lurk in your backyard. My name's Hewitt.
I'm Chris. How you doing, man?
It has been a week.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I got a new instructor at school, and it's been fun because he's like, my last instructor's like, we're just going to do a chapter a week. You know, you just go through it and just go bit by bit. This one's like, no, we're doing a chapter a day now.
I feel that because with the program I'm in, like, some of my classes have been super easy. Like, last fall, there was one class that literally all I had to do for my final project was copy all my other projects into one portfolio and submit it again.
Right.
This week, coming week is last week, and I would be submitting stuff tonight and tomorrow, but Canvas is down. So they said, don't turn anything until Wednesday. That's when my paper's due in one of my classes. And the professor's like, it's still due this day. And I'm like, cool.
Tight.
So I've gotten the shorter paper out of the way, but the other one, you gotta
work on that.
Well, I'm going to knock it out the park once I actually sit down and work on it. It's just that, again, this professor of this class that I got to make like a 10, 12 page paper for is the one that traditionally has been, oh, don't worry about it. Just copy a bunch of your other work. The rest of the work on this class was what you needed to make this final project. And now it's 12 page paper, use completely different sources other than the annotated bib, and talk about this. And I'm like, cool, I can do that. It's just, it's going to be a bit.
Yeah, for me, it's been like, okay, so the technical aspect of learning IT is fine. Like, you know, learning like topology is fairly easy because there's like actual charts and everything. But getting into the technical portion of learning like IPs and like which IP is what, like you have to like remember an actual IP address, like certain IP addresses, and how to like turn it into like binary or vice versa, things like that. So that's been like me trying to learn that, and I don't think I retained the information enough, so I'm gonna have to go over it again just in case.
Some stuff you gotta do that. Like when I did my budgeting class back tail end of last fall, I had to reread so much of that because for my final project, because like up until the final project, we never talked about money, never looked at money, never ran tables, never did a budget. The final project was like, hey, do a budget. And so I had to go read the last two chapters of the book, which were not assigned, by the way, so that I could be like, all right, this is the procedure you actually need to do. I'm like, son of a bitch. So I had to read that a couple times because I am not a money person. I think the biggest problem that we both face with these classes is that they're online. We are not, you and I both come from an age group that still remembers most of our college classes being in person. Like when I was an undergrad, I had one online class. When I was a graduate student, technically 3 of my classes were online, but you went to a classroom that had a projector and we were in class with tech. So
yeah, so it was like a digital teacher sort of deal.
Well, I mean, it was really weird because like now, like if I want my transcript, I have to pay tech $15 for 9 credit hours. No, sorry, actually 3 credit hours, because one of my 3 classes that I took that way was with a tech professor, and it used to count as my, like, it's on my ULM transcript, but because the professor is from tech, I have to get a tech transcript for that one class. So now also that means if anybody I went to class with at tech at that time were trying to like apply for another school, they would have to apply to ULM for 6 hours because the other 2 remote classes were taught by a ULM professor with tech looking in that classroom on a camera. This is also how old I am. We had one classroom that was the online distance learning classroom.
Yeah, I remember being in a distance learning classroom. Actually, it wasn't my class. It was a different class that I think was either in Ruston or somewhere like that, where this was like pre-Zoom, by the way. I think they had to use like Skype, and you know how notoriously bad Skype is
Oh, no,
at video calls.
This was the one that they used was like the old before even Skype, because this is like 2007, 2008 was when I took these classes, and it was a once a week class for like 6 hours. So I mean, it was forever when you sat in there. Like, you take notes and then have a test at the end of the class. But
that's fun.
And it was
I love classes.
It was.
Like that.
Do you remember the old webcams that were like a 4-inch ball that could rotate and like look like a security camera, but it was a webcam for back in the long ago in the before times? I feel old now because like then when I got my second master's, it was mostly online.
Anyway, to get back into what we're going to be talking about tonight, you're bringing something up.
Oh yeah, really bad segue, but let's go. Like,
I mean, we got to get better at our segues. But
well, see, we were going with the whole electronics thing, and the guy who bought this place eventually and turned it into what it is today owns a media company that helped make webcams. So that was going to be the segue I was going to use.
Oh, but I mean, you're building up to it, but I'm looking at it. I think we're at like 5 minutes right now. So
and you're like,
we gotta be a professional podcast.
You're like, I have a raid.
I don't raid.
I have a raid in like 2 hours, man. My wife and I are going to go use our Tabaxi sandwich mancers to defeat Radagon, the Radish Knight.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I just mixed like Final Fantasy 14 and like I don't
think you said anything Final Fantasy in that sentence.
I don't know what the cat people in.
They're called Makode.
Okay, so you're Makode sandwich mancers.
Sandwich mancer?
I all I know is I think Final Fantasy 14 is a food porn game.
Part of it is, yeah. Okay. Because you do cook a lot.
And then I tried to bring the big angry dude with the skinny horse from Elden Ring into it, but make his name food-based.
Radagon is a completely different person from what you were thinking. You're thinking of, what's his name?
No, I was just trying to turn him into an angry radish man.
You're saying angry radish man. What is...
Let me be honest. I'm not, Future Chris, I am not that responsible for the problem. Radon is the big
Radagon is like one of the last bosses.
Oh yeah, he's the like I and my wife are one entity.
Yeah. He's like, I married myself because no one would...
I fused with my wife. And now there's one very buff, angry grandpa wandering around with his lion pet. Anyway, so yeah, the man who bought this started out with like an electronics industry and that type of thing. But have you ever heard of the Mortuary?
The Mortuary?
The Mortuary.
I've not heard of I've heard of a mortuary.
Well, the Mortuary is located at 4800 Canal Street in New Orleans.
Okay.
It is currently used as a seasonal haunted house attraction, operating between September and the first weekend of November.
Right.
Let me go ahead and get this out there for anybody that knows about haunt attractions. It is a no-touch rule haunted house.
Which is pretty common, I think.
It's pretty common, but there's a lot of them recently that have been like, if you sign the waiver, they can touch you. I'm like, yeah. And if I sign the waiver and they touch me and I touch them, it's all okay. Also, remember, I don't remember if I've said this in the podcast anywhere in the last year that we've been doing this, but I'm the one who's been kicked out of our former haunted house like 3 times because I hit people. Because I have fight flight, which means I punch and jump back.
Yeah.
But no.
When I was like 16, I was like one of those wusses that ran out and my girlfriend was left in there at the
See, I would have done that if I had made it probably that far and left a me-shaped hole and everything. But no, the main reason I got kicked out was and told not to come back was the last year I came, I accidentally broke somebody's nose. They came up behind us with the chainsaw and they stuck it between my legs.
Yeah, they did the same shit with me.
And they revved it and like I'm looking down and I mean like logic brain now, you know, like fucking 23 years later. I knew there was no chain on that. Watch. Give me a second as I turn into the old man from Saving Private Ryan real quick.
Just an old man meme.
But anyway, no, it's like, so you look down and there's something that is not yours between your legs, and all of a sudden you hear a rev. You know, one, chainsaws are scary when you're not the one operating them. I don't care what anybody says.
Or even when you're the one operating them, if you don't know what you're doing.
No, so with the story I was telling, stuck the chainsaw between my legs, revved it, and I threw an elbow back, and I straight up broke the actor's nose.
To be fair, can I just say this now? If there's a no-touch rule, don't fucking, stick chainsaws on people
Don't put a chainsaw on a gooch.
Yeah.
T-shirt I did. Don't put the chainsaw on the gooch.
Yeah. Because they did something, they didn't do that, but, they would, press the chainsaw on, your shoulder or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, to get back on point, they have a no-touch rule. So if you go in there, no touching. However, they do make you sign a waiver to enter because it is a massive building that changes themes every year. Hollywood theatrical level productions. You're basically signing hey, look, if you have a heart attack coming in here because a jump scare or something, we're warning you, if you have any cardiac stuff.
Yeah.
Any of these things.
Is it a thing? It's
it's a CYA. It's a CYA document.
It's
also,
essentially saying we're not responsible for that, but
right. Also, hey, be warned this, but also, let's be honest. There's a waiver to enter this haunted house.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, it operates September to November, but it has not always been New Orleans' premier haunt.
What would you even call New Orleans' premier haunt?
Well, we've already mentioned in the Sellout episode the Mortuary Mansion, but I mean there are several buildings in New Orleans that could probably take the cake for a premier haunt. Well, the blacksmith shop, the Ursuline Convent, right across the street is the
theater.
Le Petit Theater, but across from the convent is the Beauregard House. There's also the Sultan's Palace. There's several.
St. Louis number 1.
Yeah, also
St. Louis number 2.
Don's House.
Don's House.
Don's House is haunted.
Most of French Quarter, not just Bourbon Street.
Yeah. So, but the history of the building that would become known as the Mortuary begins in 1872 when Mary and John Slattery established it as a family home. Now, at this time, Canal Street, where they built at, was not actually really in town. It was a little bit further out of the city. So, the thing that most people need to remember about New Orleans, and I mentioned this when we talked about the Mortuary Mansion, that the lower Ninth Ward used to be 3 plantations. There used to be plantations off of Rampart Street. There used to be plantations off of Poydras. So, New Orleans itself has expanded so much over the last century and a half.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's a lot. We were talking about this with the grunge. Because with the grunge, you had, the place that they talked about the grunge being on Grunge Road.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist anymore. Because they developed that area.
Well, also some of the cemeteries used to be out of town. And now they're next to the Popeyes.
Or they're, in the middle of, a tourist attraction.
Well, they are a tourist attraction.
Yeah, St. Louis number 1.
So, they built it as a family home in the Greek Revival style. Now, this was we've talked about this architecture a little bit. It was extremely popular before the Civil War. It stresses symmetry, simplicity, and resembles Greek temples with large white Corinthian columns, and also Doric columns and Ionian columns. Greek-style columns were popular. And a simple, low-sloped roof. Now, they also usually had a covered porch, both in the front and the back, that functioned as another room. So, I mean, you didn't have TV or anything like that, so what are you doing for entertainment? Get yourself a mint julep and go sit out upon the porch. Now, other examples of the Greek Revival style are McRaven House that we've been to and talked about, as well as the Lincoln Memorial, and to an extent the original portion of the White House.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Once there were more additions, there's a little bit more Federalist style throughout most of DC. Now, the Slatterys had 6 children. Their oldest one, John Jr., became a stonemason for the Jewish cemetery next door.
There's a Jewish cemetery?
Yeah, the cemetery next door to it is a Jewish cemetery.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest. New Orleans is mostly Roman Catholic, especially in the 1800s. They're not going to let Jewish people be buried in their cemetery.
Well, doesn't the Jewish faith, like, don't they have, like, their own plots that they make?
They do have their own burial practices. They do.
Yeah.
And that's, like, especially throughout the city of New Orleans, if you go to some of the large necropolises, like the Metairie Cemetery, you can tell which is a Jewish grave and which is a Christian grave, not simply because, like, there's a cross or a star on it, but because of the way the grave is actually
prepped. That's fair.
Because there is a way that they build their graves. It's different if you go to the cemetery or you take a ghost tour and you stop by the cemetery. The tour guides will explain it better than I ever could. There's a difference. Like, their graves are built more like a cairn, I believe is the way it was put. So their graves are actually a little bit more
Cairne.
Yeah, like a cairn. Like, so they're lifted up. Like, it's built up a little bit more. It is different. But the thing is that especially in the United States in the 1800s, there's going to be a Jewish cemetery and a Catholic cemetery and a Protestant cemetery. Everybody's going to be buried in there, and then there's going to be the Potter's Field somewhere, right? So I mean, it's one of those things that the Jewish cemetery is right next door to the building. And gonna say this before getting back on the point: absolutely gorgeous cemetery.
Oh,
like
is it an above ground one or?
Some of it's above ground, but really, like I said, it's like a cairn. So like, there's like a 6-inch.
Yeah, so it just
there's like a 6-inch stone wall. Then there's grass, and then there's like a concrete or a stone sarcophagi style lid over it. So it's literally like the grave. It's like they lifted the ground up so they could dig down deep enough, and then they had their markers placed on top.
That's a very interesting method.
When both of us have money sometime in the future, we'll have to go and see this, because again, the building's gorgeous, and so is the cemetery. Now, in 1905, the Slattery sold the house to Marie Lafontier and William Klein. In 1923, P.J. McHaon and Sons took custody of the house and turned it into a funeral parlor. Now, every document I looked at said they took custody of the house, so I'm assuming Madame Lafontier was older and either couldn't keep up with payments, or she had become unable to care for herself. And so when it says they took custody, it seems like it was one of those, like it was auctioned off at this point.
Okay.
But P.J. McCann and Sons, they turned it into a premier luxury funeral parlor. And before I continue, you and I would love this place when it was in its prime, and it sounds so dope. I wish we could have seen it.
There are a lot of places
because we're steampunks, and everything about this that I'm about to describe.
Okay, so it's like old school, like.
So from 1923 until 1996, it operated as a funeral home, either as McCann and Sons or under the title of Security Industrial Funeral Home Corporation, because they got bought out. Because eventually the Sons had gotten old, because their dad bought the house in the 1920s, and then they worked there until they got old, and then their children worked there, and then the grandkids are like, fuck this, I don't want to run a funeral home. We're going to sell it to like a massive funeral home company.
Yeah. And then it fell under, I assume.
Well, the thing is that it's not so much that it fell under, this is a massive home. They made additions to it. Now, while it operated, there were over 20,000 funerals held within the building during the time frame that it operated. It was so large they could house 8 funerals at the same time.
That's
so they had 8 separate funeral parlors.
Okay, so as a funeral home, it would have a space to like prep bodies, right? It would have a more.
We'll get to that. But
it is a mortuary. Okay, so yeah.
But most of like the funeral homes here, have 2 viewing rooms.
And the thing is, it's the reason why I ask is if it has 8 viewing rooms / parlors for like visitations and funerals and things like that. How big is like the mortuary or morgue area to be able to...
We're getting to that.
Okay.
Now, the facility...
I'm getting ahead of you.
Yeah, the facility contained an autopsy room, cold storage for the dead, an embalming room, on-site crematorium, casket storage, casket manufacturing facility, casket and flower store, dining room with a full-time on-site cook.
Okay, so on-site crematorium. So this is in the middle of the French Quarter, right?
No. This is on Canal Street. This is...
Oh, on Canal Street. It's still in the middle of the city.
Nowadays it's in the middle of the city, but when it was built, and even in the 1900s, it's not really in the city. Because,
So the only thing I'm thinking is, like, they put a crematorium...
Well, I mean, they do put crematoriums in the dead center of cities anyway, man. I mean, think about New York.
Oh, true. Yeah.
But I mean,
I can only imagine the smell coming out of that.
Well, also for the gentle listeners at home, to give you an idea, New Orleans is the largest metropolitan city in the state of Louisiana. It's maybe 200,000 people now, but at one point it was closer to...
I think it's 400,000.
400,000. It was at one point nearly 1 million people, and you enter New Orleans 20 minutes before you actually get into New Orleans because of Kenner and Metairie and the outlying areas. Chris is looking up the population of New Orleans on his phone.
364,000.
Okay, so it was between what we said.
Metro population is nearly 1 million, so that makes sense.
So New Orleans is massive now, y'all, but think about even like back in the day.
Massive compared to around here, at least.
Well,
yeah,
well, geographically, New Orleans is still not small.
Yeah.
Now, they had a full-time cook on site, which when I read that, I had to go back and reread it. Like, there was a person who set up and made
food.
Anyway, so no, New Orleans is a huge area now, but back then, some places that are in the city,
we're not in. Yeah,
we're not in the city.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about that with like Grunch Road and everything.
In 1959, though, they installed a elevator in the back so that they could move the deceased without the public seeing it.
So it's like a hospital elevator where it can...
They added multiple rooms onto the back, which are... Well, I'll get into that here in a second. But they basically had an elevator so they could go between the floors without, like, hey, what's that casket doing? Well, the Johnsons have a funeral on the 3rd floor. We're very sorry to interrupt you. We're sorry for your loss. Kind of situations. They can move the dead. Also, they can move the dead without having, like, someone drop the body off in the back. You did all the embalming, and now you got everybody toting a casket out to the front and going through the front door kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they made an elevator so that they can move the dead more covertly, is one way. The funeral home also had private bedrooms and bathrooms for the bereaved to stay on site.
Okay, so it was like a hotel. Well, it had a restaurant.
You couldn't...
It's not a restaurant, but it had a...
So it had a cook, but the thing is like the bedrooms were for people that were like coming from out of town or for the widow so that she could be set up. But the big things these rooms were for were not necessarily sleeping, but getting dressed, getting cleaned up before and after the service. Like you had access to this room. So right now, when I said this is a luxury funeral parlor, I mean... luxury. I mean,
now I will say this: when it comes to like Southern funerals, it's not necessary. And I don't know about other places in the United States or outside of the United States, but here in the South, it isn't uncommon to have food at a funeral.
No, there is always food at a funeral. It's a church. Okay, if it is a church function,
there's food.
There's food, and funerals fall under church function.
Yeah, even at my dad's funeral, we had food. feud.
We had feud.
Yeah, feud.
Your father had some feud, some Swedish meatballs, and some pimento cheese.
My dad from beyond the grave.
Just becomes super Swedish. No, so also they had smoking parlors for men, private powder rooms for women. And these were very state of the art for the time when they first got put in, because all the women's powder rooms had indoor plumbing like sinks and toilets. They also had mirrors with electric lights, which 1920s, that's kind of normal. But they also included chaise lounges in all of the women's quarters. Do you know what the other name for a chaise lounge is?
What?
A fainting couch. For the gentle listeners at home, he just rolled his eyes so hard that I think he might have popped a jaw.
Okay.
Well, okay, let's be fair. If someone...
My husband has passed away suddenly. It wasn't because of the poison in his soup.
Well, I mean, also...
also,
I'll say this. Think about a funeral. Like, I want that chaise lounge in the men's smoking room, too. Like, if I'm wearing a three-piece suit to a funeral and it's fucking August in New Orleans, I need a fainting couch.
I mean, fair. That's fair. I would take a fainting couch on that. I mean, it would be a sleeping couch for me, because I'd just be like,
oh, no.
Oh, no, I'm fainting.
Now, in 1996, they closed the doors and the property was sold to the to Lowen L.A. Holdings, a.k.a. Alderwoods LLC. And the 1,400-foot square building fell into disrepair. So the reason why this funeral home eventually failed is the upkeep of a 1,400 square foot home. That is nearly, that's not quite, because my home is 1,700 square feet or 1,800 square feet. That is almost 10 times the size of my house.
That's a big ass place.
Yeah, this is a old, not plantation style home when you see it. It was a massive building, and so, and also, you know, when stuff gets updated and modified, that, think about St. Francis Medical Center here in town. There are floors that do not connect to the same floor.
Yeah, and also you can go on a floor. You go on one floor in St. Francis and it's like old-timey looking. Like it looks like it's when it was built.
Yeah.
And then you go to another one, it's like, oh, it's all modern.
It's the new building.
And the floors that look old have all the like new tech like crammed into it in a very awkward way.
It's like, we tried to make sure that all the new technology was in this room built in 1925. These walls is solid concrete.
We had to drill through it.
We have taped it to the world. Anyway, before we start going on a hate crime and making fun of rednecks, which we are. We are. We just lean a little left for redneck. But the sheer size of the building made upkeep for the facility nearly impossible, and also keeping people out of the building was incredibly difficult, because you could brick up, or I shouldn't brick up, but you could board up every access from the partially exposed basement to the first floor. People are still going to find a way in.
Of course. I mean, talk about, like, we recently talked about the P Farm in Shreveport. That is on private property that's patrolled.
People still get in.
Yeah. People find their own ways in. They don't even go on the main road. They will walk, like, an extra 2.5 miles to get to the P Farm so they can write Dicks for Harambe on, like, the women's ward.
Get it right. It's Dicks out for Harambe.
Dicks out for Harambe. My bad.
Now, so this happened. The Alderwood did not keep up with it very well. And in 2004, the site was purchased by Aveda Spa, or their parent company, which the parent company has changed names 8 times.
Oh, it's one of those companies where it's like, we're Envision Media.
It's like how my mortgage has been sold to the same company that it belonged to 3 times. They've just changed the name.
That's my mortgage too.
The thing is like I thought they were selling it to another company until I looked at the companies themselves. No, it's a way to restructure debt so they can get out of taxes.
Okay. That's fun. Boy, I love that people can just, fuck around like that and not have any consequences.
Anyway, so the parent company bought it with the intent to turn the massive place into a luxury spa resort in New Orleans.
So they wanted to make it an actual spa.
Like they were going to turn like a lot of the lower levels into spas, and the upper levels where there were bedrooms.
We're going to turn the morgue into like a nice bathhouse.
Well, not so much even just a bathhouse. Like
that would.
And I'm talking to like this would have been a boutique. This would have been like 20 rooms.
A boutique haunted bathhouse where we put where we put the sauna right where we used to keep the cadavers.
Yep.
I would actually do that. You know what? I was clowning on it, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like,
you would call it the Dead Sea SEE spa.
Yeah, and just let people come in. It's like, yeah, this is where they kept all the fucking cadavers, man.
Yeah. So in 2000, so that's what they did in 2004. Now, partway through the demolition of the funeral home additions, the company pulled out, leaving the building as wood beam doors and outer walls and a damaged roof. Like they gutted the whole thing and sold. Now, this is partly due to the CEO dying surprisingly of unknown causes. So the company sold the property and his wife got a whole lot of money.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm not trying to accuse anybody of anything from 20-something years ago, but when the wife also gets a lot of money out of selling the property, it sussy. Now, the property then sat abandoned for 3 years, and then Hurricane Katrina hit.
Okay.
Hurricane Katrina hit and blew out all the windows on the lower floors, flooded the basement, and tore off most of the roof.
Wait, this place has a basement?
It's like Don's basement. Like, it's like mid-chest deep.
Okay, so it's more,
it's a half basement.
Okay.
So some of it's underground.
Not as much of a danger of radon in the basement.
I would say, yeah, there is. But I mean, it's one of those to where, like, you and I would be most of our upper body above ground walking in it.
Right.
Like, of the 8-foot ceiling, 4-ish feet, maybe 4.5 feet are underground.
So it's like, yeah, I see what you're saying.
A raised basement.
Raised basement. We have like 1 or 2 houses in the entirety of Monroe with that.
To be fair, we probably could dig basements in certain parts of this town. It's just that we're Louisiana, we're mostly mud. Now, Jeff Bourne. Good name. Oh my God, it's Jeffrey Bourne. Wow.
Jefferson Bourne over there.
Bought the property back in 2007 to turn into the Mortuary multi-million-dollar high-end haunted attraction. The Mortuary opened in 2007 for the Halloween season and has been open ever since. During the renovations, a ghost hunting team asked to investigate the site. Bourne went all in on this and has allowed multiple ghost hunting groups to come into the mortuary.
If you're making a haunted house attraction and people are like, hey, there's legit history here, we want to investigate it for ghosts.
Well, fuck yeah, man. Like, think about this. If someone told me my house was haunted and I was having experiences, like, you can investigate it, but I'm probably moving.
Yeah, but
I don't need my children to be best friends with, like, a demon.
But, I mean, if you own, like, a former, like, funeral home and you want to turn it into, like, this place where you make money off of, like, how scary the place is.
So, I mean, put a pin in that.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that. Now, the ghosts and sightings of the mortuary. Now, there are several stories of disembodied voices, shadow people, cold spots, orbs, doors slamming, all of the general, this place haunted, which maybe, because we've never really done that when we've talked about haunted places, we don't go into that because you and I really do not give orbs or cold spots.
Well, the thing is, too, it's like, if you're talking about, like, general hauntings, unless there is, like, a big, specific haunted thing that's happening, like with the Lafitte, with the Red House, it's like, okay, so the dogs are a specific haunting for there. But if it's just like, oh, you see some white ghosts, apparitions, you hear some noises.
Well, let's be fair. We actually go into apparitions, but I'm saying like shadow people.
Yeah, if you see shadow people, or if you hear things creaking, or if you see orbs or things like that.
Well, you and I, let's be honest, you and I both, this needs to actually be a t-shirt if we ever get popular enough to have merch. Orbs are bullshit.
Orbs are kind of bullshit. But it's just
as I say, as I wear the Mothman Stole My Catalytic Converter t-shirt.
That's a great t-shirt, by the way.
I really need to either get you the one of all I can think of is Mothman's juicy ass, or Mothman ate my whole ass at Denny's.
I'll wear that. Like, I don't care. Like, at this point, I'm nearly 40, and I'm getting to that point to where I'm like, I feel like I'm morphing into that type of old person where it's like, I'll wear or I'll do whatever I want because I'm fucking old now. And I'm not even really old. I'm like 37.
So, like, you're the dude that would be like the old man in Cyberpunk that's wearing a hot pink t-shirt with no sleeves that says "Baby Fuck Hard."
Yeah. Yeah, fuck it.
And you'd be like, I have no clue what this means, but my grandchild knit it for me.
I'd be like, fuck it, man. It's a nice shirt. It's comfortable.
So, it's the standard haunts. Now, like we said, disembodied voices, standard ghost thing. We kind of give EVPs some credibility. Shadow people, we need to do an episode on shadow people.
Yeah.
Cold spots, it depends. But orbs and disembodied footsteps, we don't mess with those because disembodied footsteps is like just the weird echo effect. Like, my son is in his room right now as we record this, and I'm hearing stuff he does to my right, which is my driveway.
Yeah, that's acoustics. Everything,
right.
Like, noise bounces around.
Now, let's get into some very specific ghosts. There is the woman in white.
Another woman in white, okay.
Is a full body...
Did she kill herself?
Well, no, she did not kill herself. However, multiple reports of the woman in white report a full-body apparition of a young woman in a white dress seen on the third floor crying. She is seen moving through the third floor crying, like she is holding her face crying and walking through, and goes through doors, comes out from doors, and turns down the hallway.
She's clumsy, okay.
I mean, she's a ghost. She don't gotta acknowledge doors, man.
She might be a residual, so, she's just walking.
Well, the thing is that she keeps getting seen in different spots. So,
maybe the tape's broken.
I mean, if it's a stone tape, the stone tape recorded her walking around the whole top floor crying. Now, there's no clue who she is, but they have a couple different stories connected to her. Now, the first one is that she is crying because her husband died during one of the yellow fever outbreaks in New Orleans. This story is 100% not true because yellow fever did not break out after 1923 when this became a funeral parlor. And none of the previous families experienced a loss due to yellow fever. So there's stories of that because
I also thought that yellow fever was more North Louisiana.
No, we had multiple yellow fever outbreaks in New Orleans. Like, the reason you cannot dig deep in Big Charity Cemetery or the other
fields, you talked about this, yeah,
is the yellow fever. So if it was from the funeral home and she was a bereaved wife when it was a funeral home, it was not, that story does not line up. However, doesn't make a good story to blame it on yellow fever when it's the city of New Orleans. 100%. So we can go ahead and say yellow fever, bereaved widow, out the door. However, it could be a young wife of a man who died from the Spanish, or a late case of the Spanish influenza. That's another story. Time frame's a little bit closer with 1923 versus 1919, but really by 1923, the Spanish flu had run its course. So again, that story I kind of throw out as well. So really what it is it's more than likely the ghost of a young woman who lost a family member who is stuck up there on the upper floor. If you want to say it's her husband, or it was a boyfriend, or it was a father, or an uncle, or a mother, you can. Whatever it is, they do have reports of her, and there are more than one sighting from employees of the place, as well as ghost hunters catching EVPs of wailing on that floor.
Okay. Okay.
Now, the next ghost is the tall man or the top hat man.
We always have a top hat. We always have a tall man.
He is found in the cemetery next door. He is found in the Jewish cemetery. He appears as a tall man or the silhouette of a tall man in a top hat. He's always big, like your height, moose height, tall. And sometimes people can make out features and it's very stern. Other times it is silhouette with a white set of eyes staring out of the shadows. That one's creepier than me.
Yeah.
Like the first one is like goosebumps, like creepy old man. You ought not have done that. And the other one is like, God damn, is that the Hat Man?
Shit. Or could it be like the
Did we do DMT
House,
before we came to the cemetery?
The Haunting of Hill House Tall Man?
Yeah.
Where it's just like he's just standing, but he's just always standing like at the right distance to be scary.
So the thing with this tall man is he only appears when people start disrespecting graves and tombs within the Jewish cemetery. He makes people feel uncomfortable immediately and start to sense dread because he stares directly into their souls, is what people have seen him said.
Oh, okay.
They feel like they are at the principal's office, is what one report said. There's a
okay,
man,
that's like a super unique way to describe like an encounter with a ghost. I like that because it's like before you said that, like I was like, okay, whenever they stare to this little, ooh. But it's like I felt like I was at the principal's office. That's a great line.
That I stood before a judge in court was another description.
It's like, yeah, you're feeling that anxiety when you're in trouble.
100% authority figure that disapproves of everything that you are about at this exact moment staring at you.
Okay, I'm down with that. I wasn't originally, but now, like, when you reframe it like
there
that.
are two types of encounters with him. Either you're fucking with a grave and you turn around and he is looming directly over you, like in your space, looking down.
So it's not just like, you know, you look over your shoulder and he's over there.
That's the other version. It's like he might be 3 graves away staring at you disapprovingly.
I mean, either or is pretty fucking...
Okay, look, like, if it was like at the grave next to you and he was staring grumpily at you, you'd be like, what the fuck you staring at, old man? But like 3 graves away and just staring at you disapprovingly with like all the energy of a dad who is not happy with your Little League performance.
Yeah, it's the... I'm not mad, I'm disappointed face looking at you.
No, it's I'm mad and disappointed. Like, it's a, you are going to get an ass whooping at home face is what I'm imagining he's given. And it's one of those like, it's like you're getting an ass whooping at home from the rear view mirror. Now, you never had that. I'm pretty sure your dad never did it because your dad was like nothing but love. My dad got mad at me in Alexandria and repeatedly stared in the rear view mirror at me until I looked at him to remind me when we got home.
Oh, shit.
I'm in like, shit is going to be done. I'm sitting there going like, I said one swear. And we're going to have like a 2-hour ride home that's uncomfortable. That's the energy I'm getting from this dude. So either like he's right in your face, looming over you like every movie monster, or like he's the Goosebumps monster that's like 3 graves away staring at you disapprovingly.
I should say on Backwoods Obscura, we do not condone spanking or hitting your kid.
No, we do not. I had plenty of that as a child. Now, let's see. Yeah, so that's him. He just stares angrily at you. Which, like, I can sit here and go, okay, he stares angrily at you, whatever. If you're in a graveyard and all of a sudden there's a dude who looks like...
A stranger that is like...
A stranger who looks like a, like, graveyard keeper or a grave digger.
Who is, like, substantially taller than you and also imposing and...
Like, the thing is, like, he's, like, just tall. It's like, he's not, like, a big dude. He's, like, just described as tall, which, you know, like, okay, most of our friends are taller than me. Like, I'm the short dude in our group now that Devin's gone.
Yeah, you're 6'1" and the shortest guy in our group.
So, somewhere in there. But it's one of those, like, with some of our folks leaving, I'm now the shortest one. I'm still not used to having to do this to people, like... Just some bananas. Jalambalam.
Continue.
The next one is the Mortician. I love the names of these ghosts. The mortician, he is seen in the basement in the old workroom, a.k.a. the autopsy room, which is right next to the elevator.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For a small period of time, it was the employee break room. So you're talking about, let's turn the autopsy room, let's turn where we stored the cadavers into something like, hey, here's where we got the microwave and the refrigerator. People used to get dissected up in this bitch.
Hey, over there, Aunt May.
You see that drain in the floor? It was for blood.
It was for blood and, bile or whatever else leaked out of people,
Did you know that bodies make a liquid called snagula?
Oh, God, what is that?
There's nothing named that. Like, that would just be me fucking with, like, that would be me, the old employee that's been
I
there
thought
forever.
you were about to make a very gross point about how, like, a decomposing body makes a sludge.
No, that's just called human gravy.
Yeah.
Human gravy does not sound any better than my made-up term of snegula.
Now I'm just being reminded of Rotten.com.
Oh, fuck, man. Anyway,
the grandma who died in a very hot bath.
Nope. The mortician wanders the basement and seems to be repeatedly looking for bodies to clean and determine the cause of death. This dude has not clocked out yet. He talks to people in the basement. He is a fully intelligent haunt.
That's cool.
This is not stone tape. He's said people's names that have worked there more than one season.
He's like, hey there, Jim.
No, one of the stories is, Karen, where are the scalpels?
Hey, Karen, where are the scalpels? I gotta get to Uncle Jim over here.
That was Karen's last day because she was the only person in the building.
Hey, Karen, I need to get the scalpel so I can cut this cadaver open and see what's up in there. Oh, geez, look at the tumor in there. It's super big. It's like a baseball. They should call you Babe Ruth.
Now, the last specific haunts that are at the mortuary are called the children. These are the ones that legit scare me. The other three, like creepy dude in the cemetery, got it. You know what? How I'm not going to piss him off?
Don't fuck with the cemetery.
I'm not fucking with graves. I'm going to be very respectful of the Jewish cemetery. How do I... Crying lady in white in the attic. You know how I deal with that? I don't fucking go to the attic. The mortician that is an intelligent ghost that learns my name. Well, I mean, there's no way I'm not going to be able to go to the break room, right? So, I mean, I got to deal with the mortician. That'd be creepy, but I've dealt with stuff yelling my name in the middle of nowhere before, which I'm really not happy with the number of things on my personal TikTok that used to be our Backwoods Obscura TikTok that are all about mimics and hearing your own voice call your name out. I'm fucking done with that. I really don't want that in my algorithm, but it's like...
Just hear, Hewitt!
And it's me saying it. It's like, well, we're leaving the house, kids. We're going. We're going to light this bitch on fire when we go.
Wait. It goes...
Actually, no, but all right, fuck you. Thank you for now declaring two of my names. The fucking Fae are gonna get me because of you.
I didn't say which order it was.
Fucking hell. There's only so many combinations, man.
But the Fae have to hear it from your lips.
Not all the time. Depends. Now, supposedly it is a boy and a girl. They are seen throughout the building. They like to play pranks and mess with guests. The one that gets me is you'll be walking through and feel a little hand grab your ring and pinky finger on your right hand.
Okay, kind of like grabbing it like they want to be led.
Like my daughter grabs my hand and looks at me. Let's go. Like, here's my thing. I'm a father. This is how this is like if we were making a horror movie. How do you kill me in the horror movie? Is the little kid grabs my hand, but it's not a little kid ghost, and that's like the second this happens, I'm like, oh god, and then I'm gone. I'm dead. I've been whisked off to the afterlife. You'll find my body like twisted and torn in the stairwell.
As opposed to me, I'll be like, get the fuck off, man. Just toss the kid. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
This is what would get Chris killed. Is all of a sudden he feels a ghost dog rub his leg. I'm like, oh yeah, who's a sweet baby. We just find Chris mangled and mauled on the front steps by Ghost Scooby. But So they will, like, there are recordings of if you roll a ball down to them down a hallway, they will roll it back to you.
Like Waverly Hills.
But the thing about it is the hallway that is being used has a downslope to the morgue.
Oh, cool.
So it rolls.
That's aesthetic right there.
That rolls uphill. So that's the reason a lot of people like that have done this before and seen it happen are like, okay, something's going on here because this is like one ghost hunting team put a level on this floor and proved that yes, it was downsloped.
Right.
To figure this out. Like it's one of those of like, what the fuck?
It would have to be like someone rolling the ball.
Somebody would have actively had to roll it back up. So either there's some super sneaky employees or ghost baby. Now, there's also poltergeist activity reported throughout the building. Multiple times they have seen furniture moved, and it's been moved between rooms. Like, furniture moving in a room, I don't give much credit to because of unlevel floor. If a chair I left in room A is now in the hallway, someone's fucking with me or it's a ghost. There's only two options in that situation if the chair is not where I left it. Let's see. Now, Cody McLean, a former employee of the mortuary who is now the assistant manager of the St. Pierre and Andrew Jackson hotels, talked about an employees only investigation where he was grabbed on the wrist and pulled back towards another room away from everybody and ran out of everything.
Okay.
Because they did an investigation. There's multiple employee stories of being touched. There's people who have gone on the haunted attraction. I'll be honest. The reason I did not write down any of the haunted attractions, real ghost stories, is because of the mood you are like. There is too much that could be. You're like, I got touched while I was in the haunted house.
I mean, it's okay. So, like with the McRaven house, it was fun. There was a bit of showmanship.
There is, but I'm just saying, it's
like in a place like this, where it's like the whole idea, like McRaven House isn't just about the ghosts.
No.
It's about the history of the place and about the history of Vicksburg, Mississippi, things like that. This is just like most of the days of the year, it's a haunted house.
I mean, during the season, it's a haunted house, and off season, they're building it to be the next haunt. Like this last year, it was Hellection.
That definitely felt like, yeah.
I mean, I really dug it because they had zombie Uncle Sam versus demon-possessed Statue of Liberty.
That's pretty fucking cool, actually. But what I'm saying is, like, they have a financial interest in building a spooky.
It's meant to scare you. And somebody that already knows the place is haunted, or supposedly haunted, and then it's a haunted attraction, I give no credence to anybody that thinks they saw a ghost while they were there, while it was operating as a haunted house, because there are too many things.
Whether or not it was like a ghost hunt, or whether or not it was...
Right.
Yeah.
Now, ghost crews that have shown up. Ghost Labs from Discovery Channel.
Okay.
Members of Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International went on investigation.
So TAPS?
Not TAPS itself, but members of the television show that were on both Ghost Hunters and Ghost International. The articles I wrote with that did not give the person's name, but they have done private.
Oh, they've done private
ghost hunting,
not actually like ghost.
Countless local groups such as Nope, which we have friends that used to be in Nope. It's usually a stop on ghost tours after they have left the Katrina Memorial coming down Canal. The most famous Ghost Hunters is Ghost Adventure Season 6, Episode 22. They went to the mortuary. Now, the mortuary did have fun with Zach and them because they did not turn off jump scares in the building.
Okay, so they have like animatronics.
So my thing is I have watched this episode. I fully enjoy this episode because
that's New Orleans humor.
Okay, that's not just New Orleans humor. That's the dark humor of our entire friend group. Because it's like, oh, you're ghost hunting? Yeah, we got actual ghosts. You know what I'm not turning off? The motion activated, I'm getting electrocuted in a chair, or all of a sudden all the lights turn on and then off immediately, and when they flash on, the mesh screen that we make look like a ceiling shows a giant goddamn tarantula. But see, my thing is, like, I love that they did that, but they did get some good evidence on that episode of Ghost Adventures, because it is early when Nick was still in the crew. This is before everything was demons. This is before everything was super it was already sensationalized because it's a ghost hunt show, but these are the folks who actually have gone and done investigations. Now, before we make our claims about is this place real or not, my sources are themortuary.net, ghostcitytours.com New Orleans, thespruce.com Greek Revival Architecture Definition, and Nola Ghost, the Mortuary. Now, my response is, I think some of the supernatural activity is very real. I think that especially the man in the cemetery is real because I don't have them. I did not save them into my document, but there are pictures of a shadow man in the Jewish cemetery when people started trying. And like, there's always a story connected to the picture, but there's pictures of something weird in the cemetery. So there's that. So I think the building, yes, is haunted, but it is over sensationalized to the highest degree because it will turn a profit. Because if I'm running a haunted house, do I want a real haunted house? Abso-fucking-lutely.
How is that? Okay, this might be. I don't think it's actually that contentious. I am leaning towards not haunted. Like, completely. Here's my reasoning. Okay, so of course skeptics are going to say there is no such thing as ghost. Obviously, we're not operating like I would be empathetic. I'm empathetic to like the skeptics' interpretation. There's a real chance ghosts don't exist. Things like that. Evidence is not really there for ghosts. Whatever you want to say, right? Mm-hmm. Going into the conventions of like putting myself into like the mentality of a ghost hunter, or like to the logic of ghosts. Okay, so one, this is not. I didn't hear anything about like any sort of like traumatic event. So traumatic.
Well, the only thing I will say to counter that there is no anything for traumatic event is a funeral in and of itself.
A funeral in and of itself is very sad and can be very dramatic or traumatic, but
nobody died. You're right. Nobody died on site.
Nobody died. There's no grotesque, gruesome things that like specifically happened with someone shedding their mortal coil, so to speak. Two, I would say that like the closest thing I could see to anywhere being haunted is maybe the cemetery, because the logic there is
that's where I am. The only ghost I'm 100% believe is real is the tall man in the cemetery.
Yeah. Because like a cemetery, if you're gonna think of like a place that's haunted that has bodies, okay, so or a place that is haunted. Okay, a place that is haunted, something bad happened there, or it's some place that is very connected to the deceased. So let's say like it's a house or home or like a business or something like that someone is like viscerally connected. That's their life's work, or it's, you know, where their life was just anchored to.
Right.
Or you have the other side of that. They are connected to their body in some way, or they are like still attached to their body in some way. So a cemetery makes sense. They're attached to their body. They can't seem to get over the fact they're dead, or they want to be near it because of anxiety or whatever you want to say. A funeral home is kind of a transient place when you think about the process of life and death in the context of modern society. You die, you go to a funeral home, you have a funeral there, or you have a wake, or you have you have your little ceremony at the place, and then you're gone from there into your forever home. That is...
Death is your forever home.
Just, you just go into your coffin and go underground, or you go into the incinerator, and then you're your relatives do whatever with your ashes. Like, I have some of my dad's ashes, but for the most part, his ashes are with our family at Sibley. I don't think, like, despite the fact there's a lot of dead bodies at cemeteries, I don't think it's a place that is, like, that attracts a lot of spirits.
Right.
If spirits are real, I don't think it does that. And if it's not, like, a hugely traumatic place in the sense that people are dying there, or if something really bad happened, it's not like the Velasco axe murder house where
with the bacon.
With the bacon, fucking. So,
to interrupt you just for a second, I had completely forgotten about the bacon until one of our friends brought back up the bacon on Brouhaha.
God damn it!
Damn it,
I forgot. Jed was listening, and he was like, "What's up with the bacon?"
By the way, hashtag Goosehead Jed if you need good insurance.
But like the cemetery ghost, I can see because again, either it's like someone that is like still attached to their body and is still lingering, or if it's someone that is like in the case of like an undertaker, they're like attached to that place fundamentally. And maybe even like the mortuary ghost where it's like that intelligent spirit is attached to that place. Second thing I will say, and I'll let you speak.
Mm-hmm.
It has turned into a haunted house attraction, and it makes everything after that point suspicious.
100%. I'm with you that 90% of it is sus because it's a haunted house. And if I own a haunted house, I want a haunted house. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I want
there is a financial incentive for that place to be fucking.
Well, also think about it. You're only making money between September and like the first weekend of November.
And you need something to pump out money.
So if you have people who want to come and investigate your place for ghosts,
you can be like, "Hey, just give me
come over here, man. Come over.
Give me a good clean $1,000, or something like that."
Or you might not even charge them, man. But think about it. Like, if all of a sudden you're on Ghost Adventures and they say this bitch is haunted, what is that next Halloween season going to be?
True. Yeah.
Now I will say this: the reason that I also give points to the graveyard ghost over everything else is the graveyard ghost makes me think of a Grimm, of a graveyard dog / the first person buried in the graveyard, first thing buried in the graveyard doesn't get to leave. They guide everybody to the afterlife. So maybe this guy who looks like sexton's not the right word, but looks like a gravedigger, might be the first person who was buried in that cemetery, and he's literally there to take care of the graves and send everybody on their way.
He becomes the eternal grave
guardian.
The grave guard. I was gonna say grave digger. I was like,
dude,
no.
grave guard. New D&D campaign is gonna be grave guardian.
God damn it, that's gonna be Darwan Part 2. But anyway, thank y'all for listening. This is Backwoods Obscura. We release every Tuesday, and we're kind of on social media. I don't know. I kind of post.
He took away my one thing in social media for legitimate reasons.
But we're also Team Bonus Action.
Team Bonus Action is a group of friends who likes to play video games, tabletop games, card games, etc., all online. We are loosely affiliated with charity right now, mostly because our charity clerics.
We're all busy.
Or it's y'all. Everybody. It's 2025. Everybody's gotta have a side hustle. Everybody's just
fire.
Shit's wild.
Donate to the Trevor Project. Donate to the ACLU.
Donate to
Batson Children's Hospital.
To St. Jude. St. Jude. We do Batson's during Extra Life. Big thing here, y'all, is we don't know what the future holds for anybody right now. And we don't know what the situation is for a lot of stuff right now because the people who seem to be in charge are
morons.
Well, I was going to say hell bent on making everything into profit, which is not the best option. But to get beyond politics, the best thing we can always do for each other is to pay it forward and to always help. Help kids have a place to stay. Help kids not have to fight for their rights. Help kids not have to deal, and families not have to deal with childhood cancer.
And can I say this right now?
Yes.
You don't have to, you don't have to donate if you don't have the money. Legitimately, if you do not have the extra money to pay it forward, we understand. But even if that pay it forward is like 20, 30, 40 cents or just $1, $2, $3, that means something.
It helps.
Yeah.
Because, look, We're in this together, whether or not people like each other or not. We only got one blue-green dirt ball. So we need to help each other and to also make sure that the kids that are out there do not have to fight our fights and that they have a better world than the one we have today. So if you can donate, please do. Even though we are goofy, not safe for work podcasters talking about supernatural nonsense. We would greatly appreciate it.
We would greatly appreciate it, and we want the next generation to have it better than we do. Legitimately.
We do. And also so that they can figure out if Mothman is real.
If they figure out if Mothman is real and if he has that juicy ass, you know. Yeah.
And with that, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. You have a good day or night or whatever time it is over there.